strong, the powerful Barry Spencer has returned to Money Savage. Welcome back, Barry.
Hey, great to be with you, George. Always happy to be on the show.
Yeah. Barry is an author. He's a financial educator, a tax and retirement specialist, the co-creator of Wealth with No Regrets, and the co-author of Build Wealth Like a Shark. Excited to have you back on again. Barry, tell us a little bit about your personal life, some more about your work, and why you do what you do.
Well, George, great to be on the show, and I am happily married to over 20 years now. My lovely bride, Lori, have two awesome kids, a son, oldest boy, and a daughter, and we have a lot of fun together. So we have lots of activities going on all the time, and the most important thing to me is enjoying time together with the family. So personally, that's what I love. At some point, I'd love to get back to training for Ironman again, like I used to do right before the kids came and as the kids came. And so hopefully I'll get back to that, being an Ironman again one day. But we'll see. We'll see how that goes. It takes a lot of effort and all that. And on the professional side, I love helping people find their future and find the future they've always dreamed about living and enjoying and being financially free. To do the things they love to do, to help the people they want to help, be with the family they want to be with, and benefit the causes they care about mostly.
I love it. So how many hours a week does it take to train for an Ironman?
Yeah, well, it depends if you want to finish it or you want to race it.
Okay.
I was of the mind finishing in the bottom 30% of my age group when I started. I really wanted to race it and finish in the top percentile, which I did. I finished in the top 3%.
Nice.
When I raced. And so I was at, between 18 and 24 hours a week.
Okay. Got it.
So needless to say, family time gets impeded if you don't prioritize that for sure.
Yeah, that's a tricky one right there. That's a future podcast, Barry, once we figure out how to keep all those plates spinning. So nice. All right. Well, I'm super excited for you with the with the new book coming out because it's with Kevin Harrington, and Kevin has been on the show before, so people are a little bit familiar with his incredible background. How did that come to be?
Yeah, Kevin Harrington, for those that don't know, original shark on the hit TV show Shark Tank, over 170 of the first episodes, and the owner of the brand As Seen on TV, for those that don't know Kevin, even though they should. He's a great guy. He's become a wonderful friend. And he was he's always looking to mentor and help other folks and provide great content and positive messages that help people. That's what he's all about now in the kind of second half in his life, if you will. And so as he launched out, he selected 31 different folks that he felt like were leading authorities in the space of wealth in various different mediums, and wanted to do a book that provided tips, insights, and helpful information for the folks. So we brought that book together, and it's launching here shortly. So super excited about that.
Nice. I love it. So that can't be an easy thing, right? Because there's 30 or so authors that contributed to the book, and you contributed a chapter, I'm assuming.
Yeah, so I get to write my chapter of tips and so forth, get to tell my story. And it's one of now 5 books that I've written or contributed to over the last several years, because I just want to put as much available content and reach as many people that I can that they would call themselves wealthy, but would have the ability to invest and plan and live their most exciting and successful future. So as many ways as I can get a message out there to folks and help people is what I want to do. And this, the ability to be a part of Build Wealth Like a Shark with Kevin Harrington, I think is a great means for being able to do that. And so it presents opportunities to not only communicate what I've written in the book with my partner, Scott Noble, but also to be able to influence other people through other means as well.
Well, give us a sort of a thumbnail sketch of what you focused on, and maybe tell me why you chose to focus on that.
Yeah, I think right now, more than anything, the number one thing people are worried about more than anything else right now is running out of money. I don't care whether you have a few $100,000, $1 million, or a few $1 million. And there's good reason for that. And as we start this new year, and as any new year begins, really, there's uncertainties in the marketplace, and there's uncertainties in the economy, and there's all those pontificators that like to tell you what's going to happen. But that's just not the case. Things just rarely play out the way people happen. And so one of the things I think right now, more than ever, people need to be focused on is recession-proof their retirement. Because if you think about it, since 1933, there's been 13 recessions. That averages out to about a recession every 7 years. So you have to assume every decade there's going to be a recession. Well, we have securely moved well outside of the average. And so with that being the case, people moving close to retirement, in retirement, or just about to make that move, they really need to think about how can they do that and do it well. And I think that's a big piece today. And that's why I think a lot of people are worried about running out of money, because they see the writing on the wall and the uncertainty in the air, for sure.
Yeah, well, I think that there's certainly a lot of uncertainty in every aspect of living right now. When we say recessions and we talk about it happens every 7 years or so, just give or take, why is that a scary thing if I'm going to be retired or thinking about retirement during a recession?
Well, first of all, I think it's a scary thing because people haven't planned and prepared for it. And one of the tips I'm going to give, my number one tip for you at the end of the show, is going to relate directly back to that. So hopefully people listen and wait for that, because I think it's the number one thing that helps you overcome a recession, uncertainty of any kind. But when I think about that, I think, okay, when recessions pull the market back, the economy back, it pulls back the market. And it pulls back the cash flow, and it pulls back all those things. So when you think about that, what happens to your dollars in the midst of that? They become more limited. And I think the bigger issue is the mindset and mentality around that. They're more afraid. They're more timid. And so because they haven't prepared for that, it becomes a really dangerous thing. But for those that are prepared for it, it can be actually a confidence building and exhilarating thing if they do it well.
So the effect is, from a psychological standpoint, maybe even if I have enough money, I'm going to be scared to spend it. So I'm going to essentially live below my means, which is normally a good thing, but...
That's right. It's great if I'm choosing to do it on my own accord. It's a dangerous thing if it's being forced upon me. And so whether I, have a lifestyle of $100,000 or I have a lifestyle of $50,000, $200,000 or more, it's the amount that I have predictably coming in that I can count on, recession or not. And when someone knows that they have what they need for their lifestyle, recession or not, then they live. They live the way they want. They live the way they intend. And a great story. We had a client come in, wonderful couple, and had enough to retire, and had enough to live on, and had a reasonable lifestyle, I would say, for them. But they were holding back. And there was this one big trip they wanted to take, and it was to the Galapagos Islands. And as we would go through a planning process and get to know them, understand them, and why and what for is about that kind of idea, we built a plan. And as we went through the plan with them and showed them how not just taking a trip to the Galapagos Island one year, but doing these dream bucket list items every year over the next decade would not thwart their ability to retire or live with freedom. And so sure enough, they were able to do that. And it was so exhilarating to come back, because they said, I can't believe we've held back for so many years of doing this one thing. And it was the best experience we've had in the time, in the recent marriage that we've had. And so that is really rewarding. And what I find is, as people have uncertainty and they focus on that uncertainty, they do hold back, whether it's trip or being with family or going out or whatever those things are. And for most people, they don't really need to live and operate that way.
Yeah, that's a great illustration, right? Because
it
stops people from doing the things that they really want, and from having peace of mind, which I think sometimes, if we don't really, it could be a term which is thrown around a little bit too much, but it's a real thing. Just knowing that, hey, we have an actual plan, and we don't need to be worried about watching the stock market or reading about the headlines in the newspaper, because we, again, have this actual income plan.
Absolutely. And that's a big key. So it's not just having assets, but it's actually having an income plan, distribution plan, cash flow plan, investment plan. And they all, what I like to say, we do integrated planning. That's where people find the biggest rewards, is when they do integrated planning, when they see all those pieces as they fit together right now, and so forth. And I think the industry is something that leads them astray and creates what I would call double trouble.
Tell me more about that.
Yeah, I think the industry is broken in a sense and creates a double trouble. So I have all these worries. I have the natural realities of the economic markets. I have the natural realities of the market movement up and down. Volatility is both positive and negative. It's not just negative. And I think in the end, we have professionals that get people focused on their money and returns way too much. So whether it's bankers or it's brokers or product salespeople in the insurance industry or whatever, they get people focused on the product and not on the plan. They get people focused on them instead of the client themselves. And it creates what I would call double trouble, because you take what's naturally happening in the marketplace and you add to that uncertainty by making it all about the professional, the advisor, and everything, and not about you. And therefore, you compound that trouble and anxiety, and it actually accentuates all the fears and anxiety that you have just naturally.
Yeah, that's a superhuman thing to want to do is to focus on the things, right? And I can't imagine that people really resist planning and taking an integrated approach. It's just maybe they not aware. Is it why? Just because it's uncommon?
I think it's this. I think there is such an overwhelming push in the industry, and that push in the industry is by big product manufacturers. You got the bank, the brokerage house, and the insurance companies, and those big producers of product. So you think they produce portfolios, they produce product, whether it's investment product, mutual funds, ETFs, and the like, insurance products, annuity products, long-term care products, or whatever. And so they push those, and then they train people in those products. And so when you take a massive multi-billion-dollar industry, and then you train the people in there, here's what I think the problem is, and you hit it, George, and it's this: that you have people who are essentially product sellers and portfolio pushers masquerading as advisors and planners. And so the very thing people think they're getting, they're not getting, because it's all about the product, all about the portfolio, which is why people are so focused on returns when no one knows what the return's going to be. You have no idea. The product manufacturer doesn't know, the advisor doesn't know, that salesperson doesn't know. And so they get so focused on that, but it's really driven by that big marketplace, big company, advisors trained by them, and not being independent.
Yeah. So that independence piece is a pretty important one.
It's very important, and I think that people don't realize the advisor's not independent, and because they're looking like and masquerading as advisors and planners. But look at what they produce. It's an investment portfolio with past performance, right? Here's our returns. Here's this product. Let me explain this product, and they're really quick to explain a product or explain this portfolio. And people get, what is it, in the left brain, right? Very thoughtful about it, and they think this is what I should be doing, intellectually evaluating these things, where in the end, what you really should be is more right brain. Dreaming, envisioning, conceptually understanding, and how it all integrates together. And then that other piece is just an affirmation of that. And advisors that focus on the left brain, that intellectual, that product focus, right, is someone you can know for sure is not planning, not focused on you, not listening, and not making it about you and who you are and what you want.
Yeah, I think that's very interesting, right? It makes sense. So the kind of conversations that people are having with financial professionals is probably going to be super indicative of whether or not this is a product pusher, portfolio seller. How else can somebody know if the person that they're talking to is more independent?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked. I think there's three things, if I were to say it. Number one, you need to find someone who is independent. So they don't work for the big company. They don't have a direct relationship to, the insurance company. They don't have a direct relationship to the bank, the brokerage house that sells the products, the portfolios and the like. And they're truly independent. And they're independent, not just in name, being a registered investment advisory firm, an RIA. They're not just independent by name. They're independent in a practice and how they operate their business. So that'd be one. You got to look for someone that is truly independent. And it goes beyond designations. It goes beyond, affiliations. It is truly a relationship understanding you got to have with someone. So number one, you got to find someone who's independent. Number two, you need to find someone who listens more than they talk. When someone sits down and they ask you questions and listen and then say back to you what you have just said to make sure you know that they've heard you is super, super important. I know there's some people who get frustrated with that because they just want to know, what am I supposed to do? Tell me the product. What's the solution? What are you going to do for me? Those are the wrong questions. And if you go down that road, it will lead you to the product salesperson. It will lead you to the portfolio manager. It will lead you looking for investment returns. You got to come back and say, who is really listening to me? So that's number two. And number three, someone who promotes planning over pushing product. You really need to find, number three, someone who promotes planning over pushing product. And that is a slow sometimes, but very methodical, well thought out, laid out process. For us, we have a registered trademark called Wealth with No Regrets. So the way we do that is systematically, procedurally, step by step, the same every single time so we can get a predictable planning outcome.
Love it.
Super important.
Yeah, thank you. Well, Barry, Savage Nation is ready for your difference-making tip. What do you have for them?
Well, I think and this will sound really maybe a little bit oversimplified, maybe to your audience, to some, George, but I'm going to come back to this because I think the marketplace is overwhelming people with the idea that you can do it yourself. I think of health and wealth in the same. I would never do my own heart surgery, and I shouldn't really do my own wealth and retirement planning either. So my number one tip for folks is don't go it alone. Whatever you do, do not go it alone. It doesn't work in my marriage. It doesn't work in my relationships. It doesn't work in my business. I need a coach. I need a mentor. I need a help. I need someone that can guide and direct me through the landmines that are present and the ones to come. So my number one is don't go it alone.
Well, I think that is great stuff. That definitely gets it. Come on. Barry, thank you so much for coming back on. Where can Savage Nation learn more about you, and where can people get a copy of Build Wealth Like a Shark?
Yeah, you're going to find Build Wealth Like a Shark on Amazon as a download. You can also come to my website, wealthwithnoregrets.com. That's all spelled out, wealthwithnoregrets.com, and email me, Barry at wealthwithnoregrets.com.
Perfect.
And shout out to me. If you've heard me here on Money Savage, I'll put together a little special gift and a hard copy of the book for you.
I love it. Well, Savage Nation, if you enjoyed this as much as I did, show Barry your appreciation and share today's show with a friend who also appreciates good ideas. Go to wealthwithnoregrets.com. Pick up a copy of Build Wealth Like a Shark on Amazon, or I'm sure wherever fine books are sold. Thanks again, Barry.
Thanks, man. Great to be with you, George. Have a wonderful day.
You as well. And until next time, keep fighting the good fight, as we are all in this together. I know how important it is for me to hit reset, to refocus, reprioritize, and even reprogram myself every quarter or so in order to make sure that my mind, my body, and my money are where they need to be. These days, we are all going hard constantly with so many demands on our time, our attention. And that's why I created the Strive Online Bootcamp, to be able to take a step back, to ensure that we're optimized in 3 key areas of our lives, our minds, our bodies, and our money. And I'd love for you to come with me on this 2-week journey. You can click on the link in the notes of the show, or you can go to strivedetox.com, check out the program. Love to have you a part of it.